You are now ready to take the mathematics content tutorials. Before we do that, I just want to remind you about the logistics of the math subtest. So the math test will last for 85 minutes and consist of 56 questions. You will be using an online calculator. So as you prepare for the math test, it is very important that you practice using this calculator. Now, when you click on this link, this will take you to ETS's online calculator tutorial. So it's very important that you go back to the online calculator and include this in part of your preparation. Now, you've already heard this before, but let's just go over what the test measures. So it's going to measure number and quantity, algebra and functions, geometry, and then statistics and probability. So let's get started in how this tutorial works. So for the math portion, we will be linking to Khan Academy. Now ETS has selected Khan Academy as the tutorial for their different parts of the Praxis core. I do like the Khan Academy because it does have a very robust content tutorial in mathematical areas that you'll be tested on. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is first take their diagnostic test. This is going to let you know where your areas of strength are and then those areas that you're going to really need to focus in on. It will also help you to fill out the study plan. So go ahead and click that link, take the diagnostic test, and make sure when you're done you have your study plan next to you so you can fill it out. Let's open up that study plan so you know what I'm talking about. So the study plan actually takes those 4 areas. So for example, number and quantity, here's algebra and functions. It takes those 4 major areas that are going to be measured and breaks them down into the exact areas that you will be tested on. So when you take the diagnostic test, you can start to fill in this column in terms of how well you did in those different areas. This is going to help you then to plan the areas that you need to focus in on. So I encourage you to do that. Take the diagnostic and fill out this column. Once you're done with that, then you're going to have a better idea about how to study. When you're done, you're then going to close this and you're going to obviously have your study plan in front of you. Then you're going to open up the Khan Academy math tutorial. So this is a very, like I said, robust online tutorial, and it covers all of those areas of math. So the great thing about this is that ETS has put together this document, which then takes the study plan in those broken down areas. So for example, remember the first major area is number and quantity. And then one of the sub areas of number and quantities is ratio and proportional relationships. And then it breaks that down into those subparts. I'm just going to scroll it down so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. And then next to each part are the various tutorials. So you'll be able to, jump into ratios, how ratios look in word problems, for example. You'll also have opportunities to practice. So what I'm going to do is just open one of these. Now, all of these are linked, so it's important that you keep coming back to this document. And it might not be a bad idea to download this as well so that you can quickly open it up on your computer and go back to where you left off. So let's open up Intro to Ratios. So this is what it's going to look like. You're going to be given a tutorial, so you're going to have somebody who's going to actually teach you a little bit about ratios. And then there's going to be other things along the side to help guide you through this particular module. I do encourage you to do as many of these areas on the left side as you can, especially in those areas that you need to focus in on. Now, areas that your diagnostic test showed that you didn't really have a lot of struggles in, I still encourage you to go back and do a couple of the, the tutorials and the practice questions. Even though you did well in them, you still want to make sure that that information is fresh in your mind. So I encourage you again to go through all of these different parts. Now I'm just going to show you kind of what they might look like as you go. So see, you have intro to ratios, then the next part is like to practice it, and they kind of explain how things work for you. And then you can get down into the nitty gritty and get some questions. Again, once you put the answer in, I'm not going to do that just in case you know, are going to use this when you're practicing. You'll put in your answer and then the correct answer will pop up. So it is very interactive, which is great. So again, you know, you keep coming back to that. Okay, so after you have gone through the different areas and you've you know, practiced using all of these different parts of Khan Academy's practice tutorials, then we're going to encourage you to take some, you know, practice quizzes. Because remember, you'll be practicing as you go along when you're using Khan Academy, but these practice quizzes now take all 4 of those areas, and you know, they give you questions in the, you know, the various parts that you're going to be tested on. So there are 4 practice quizzes. They consist of approximately 15 questions. So right there, that's about 60 questions for you to practice with. And then the time is adjusted for how long you would have gotten if you had 15 questions. Because remember, you have 56 questions for 85 minutes. So the time for these practice quizzes was adjusted. Once you're done with that and you feel that you are ready for a full practice test, then that's really going to be the last step of the tutorial. Again, I'm going to encourage you not to take the practice test until you feel that you are ready to be done with this tutorial. Because if there are still lingering areas, you definitely want to go back into the tutorials in Khan Academy. You know, as you saw, there were so many ways to practice. So just make sure you feel comfortable before you take the practice test. Now, with the practice test, you are only going to get 1 attempt. So I want to stress that it's only going to be 1 attempt. You're going to be given a code. So you're going to have 5 minutes to read the directions and then to copy and paste the code. Once you copy and paste the code is going to expire and it will take you directly to the test. You'll go through a couple practice pages where they walk you through the directions. Then once you hit start, the test cannot be reset. So you have to make sure that you've devoted time to this, that you're going to set aside 85 minutes in a quiet space with working technology. So make sure that you have all of that set, because unfortunately we cannot share the code again because it's expired and we don't have other codes to give you. So make sure you're ready to go ahead and do that. So this is what it will look like. You'll have your directions. It's going to say, please read carefully. It'll talk about how long you get to get the serial number. You're going to copy and paste the serial number into a box after you click on the link that's going to take you to the practice test. Now, the practice test is given by ETS, so we do not have control over it. So you're actually going to be leaving the tutorial and going into ETS's portal to take the test there. So again, you want to make sure you familiarized yourself with that online calculator. You've completed your study plan. You've been self-evaluating with your study plan. So I actually want to go back to that as well. There is a part on the study plan that asks you to kind of keep rating yourself. Where do I stand? Where should I be completed by this? So you want to constantly keep looking at this area here. So let's say ratios and proportional relationships on the diagnostic test, maybe it was like a 2, so out of 5. So this is an area that you really need to come back to. But as you study these different areas, you want to come back and keep evaluating yourself. Did that 2 become a 3? Did that 2 become a 5? Are you doing really well on the practice questions? Again, the questions will be geared to these different areas of the heading of number and quantity, and then the other ones as we talked about. Now, when you take those practice quizzes, as I said, it's not going to be broken down into the 4 areas. Just know the 4 areas will be covered. So again, keep evaluating yourself, keep, reflecting on how you're doing. And then, like I said, when you're ready to go, then you will click on the math practice test and you'll have 1 attempt and 1 practice test in the math area.